This is a continuation video of the chest modeling video. You can just watch this on your own if you are looking to see how to add vertex color to models with the idea of using that to generate an ID map over in Substance Painter. In a previous video, I did go through modeling and unwrapping this chest. So we have the chest here with its unwrap. Looks something like this. And we are preparing to take this over to Substance Painter. So what is an ID map? The purpose of an ID map is to determine areas on your model where the material is probably going to be very uniquely different. So for instance, on this chest, we're going to have wood pieces, we're going to have metal pieces, and we can even distinguish out that the rivets are probably going to be a different metal than the rest of it. So we can pre-tell this that we have 3 material styles on there. And this don't conflate this with, oh, there's 3 different materials. There's going to be 1 material on it, but the unwrap itself is going to have 3 distinct looks to it based off of, where it is on the object. This is how, this is one of the areas I've seen students kind of mess up a little bit sometimes, where they're like, oh, it's going to be wood. I'm going to assign wood material, then metal material. And then you take it over into Substance Painter and you have your different texture sets. And I think that's the method to do that, and it's not. The problem with that then is you're actually making multiple materials. So if we did have those 3 materials, that'd be 3 unique materials you're uploading to Sketchfab or you're uploading into your game engine, and that's not a good workflow when working in games. This object needs 1 unwrap, 1 material set for it. So before I go too far, I did forget to add a new material to this. It's always a good idea, even if all you're doing is adding a material just to get its name, because whatever you name your material here is what is going to call that material over in Substance Painter. So it's a good idea just to name it. It'll make things a little bit easier. So let me name my object, let me name the material. I'm going to freeze its, delete its history, freeze its transform. And now I'm ready to add vertex color. What is vertex color? Vertices can hold more information than just its coordinates in XYZ space. It also holds its coordinates in UV space. So each of these vertices has that, what is its UV number. It also holds normal information of which way is this vertex pointing. The other interesting thing that it can hold is RGBA information, color information. So we can assign color to these vertices. It's actually a very old school way of giving color to objects. It's very, very efficient. So if you need to make a super efficient game, not a lot of overhead, you can just use vertex color to shade your models. It's also a way how old game engines used to do lighting information on their models. So how do we do this? We're going to open up the vertex color menu underneath mesh display, and it's this apply color. We don't want to just hit apply color. We want to go over and open up the dialog box. The way that this works, the easiest way to do this is we're going to just select polygons that we want to have of a certain color, and then we're going to apply that color to those. Since we already unwrapped it, it's going to make our life a lot easier. So I can just select my UV shell. So for instance, I want to select everything I know is wood. So I'm going to select all of those shells. I'm going to give it a color. The color will not affect the look of your model. So usually you use very bright, very different colors. Like usually, stick with these up here. It makes it a little bit easier. And then if you need more than that, hopefully you don't, you can always, start doing some in-between colors. But I'm just going to choose the red and I'm going to hit apply. And it's going to apply that vertex color to just those. Let me do the metal band part next. I'm just going to select my shells change the color to, let's do blue. It honestly doesn't matter as long as it's different. Hit apply. And last, I'm going to select my rivets, change the color. Let's do yellow. Hit apply. And we should be good to go. If I deselect this now, we can see we have our different areas mapped out. Again, this will not affect the look of it. We're just mapping out our different areas. Once you're satisfied and you are ready to go, we do need to export this. And this is a very important thing you need to remember. When you export this, you have to export it out as an FBX. You can't use an OBJ for this. The reason is that OBJs do not keep vertex color information. FBXs will store vertex colors, so the file type is incompatible with this. So make sure that if you use the game exporter, it does export as an FBX automatically. So you should be good to go with this. So I'm just going to let me just double check. Let's move to origin, single file. That's fine, and I'll click export. Next, let's open up Substance Painter. We'll make a new project. Let me find that. Bump this up a little higher. Notice when we import it in, we do not see the vertex color because it does not affect the look of this. The way that we work with it is actually through our baking. So we need to bake that vertex color information now into an ID map. So I'm going to go underneath Texture Set Settings, and I'm going to go to Bake Mesh Maps. Make sure you're paying attention to these things that I'm doing here. If you don't set these things correctly, this is not going to work. First, let's make sure that our size is larger, and we need to make sure that we're saying use low poly mesh as high poly mesh, since that low poly mesh is what is storing our color information. We need to then go underneath the ID map settings. You see that? Since what we're making is an ID map, but we need to change that color source from material color to vertex color. If we don't do this, this isn't going to work. You can bake out whatever other maps that you want, but that's the one that's important for what we're doing. I'm going to then hit Bake Selected Textures, and we might see it blip for a second. We saw all those colors. And then we are done. Okay. We can see underneath here we have our ID map set. How do we actually work with this now? There's a couple ways. The really quick way that I don't like to do, because I like a little bit more control, is if you are dragging and dropping, let's say, this material onto an object, if you hold down the control key, as you're dragging and dropping, it will show you the ID map, so that if you drop it on the red, then it will automatically mask it to that ID map color. So I don't really like to do it that way. Like I said, I like a little bit more control. Instead, what I like to do is I like to make a folder. And this is just going to be where all of my wood stuff is, because usually if you're using Substance Painter, you're not just dropping in, ooh, that's a bad one. You're not just dropping in a wood fill and you're done. Usually you need to tweak it. You might want to add grunge and dirt to it. You might need to do multiple layers. So it's a good habit to do this with a folder that you use the ID map on. So I have this wood folder. I just put a fill in there to make sure that I know it's working. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a mask to the folder. So it's on the folder. Then on that mask, I'm going to right click the mask and choose Add Color Selection. And if I go over to my properties, we can see that color selection down here, it's looking at that ID mask, but we need to use our pick color. and it'll show us our ID mask, and we can say, what is the color on that ID mask that we want? And we select it, and it automatically will make that mask for us. So now we can do whatever we want in this folder to the wood, and it will work with this. So let's, like if we, we can tweak this now, do what we want. We can even drop in like another thing in here. Let's, if I drop this rock, it's taking forever to load, geez. And then change this to like a green color and mask that. Add a fill. It's like a noise, and ooh, it's getting to be gross and stuff. So notice that it's only affecting the wood because we masked that folder instead. We might need to come in and fix the direction of those things. Honestly, it's not too bad. I don't necessarily mind it that way, but we could easily, duplicate our wood and rotate it 90 degrees. And get that going in the correct direction. Let's do the others real quick, just for the demo. So I'm going to make a new folder. This is going to be my metal. I'm going to just I like to just kind of just drop one in, just so I can see what it's doing. I'm going to add a mask. Into that mask, I'm going to add color selection and then pick that blue. We can see now that it is just on that. Let's do those rivets. Let's make a new folder for the rivets. What should I do for this one? Some kind of other metal, probably. Let's try just this one. Let's add that mask, and then add our color selection, and we'll pick the yellow. There we go. Now I'm free to come in and tweak all of these individually. It's a lot easier to work with. And that's how we use an ID mask. It can significantly speed up your time in Substance Painter if you do have all of these unique sort of areas. Hopefully you found this helpful and you enjoy working with them.